All right, so today I wanted to update I've done this before, and recently I've been collecting some of these whistles that I've sold off before. I have a project in flight right now to try to replicate my Copeland as best I can. I've got some I've been buying materials and tools and equipment. It's very expensive. I am very much out of money this month and next month. I'm trying to get to the point where I might be able to like actually manufacture something and possibly sell some whistles that I make, in order to try to make sort of like recoup some of the investments that I put into this. Part of the investments that I put into this project are whistle references. So I purchased a Copeland Low D. And the problem with Copeland Low Ds, the biggest problem with Copeland Low Ds is they're not available anymore. Michael Copeland retired in like 2008, completely retired in 2022, and doesn't even do whistle repairs or anything anymore. And that's it for the Copeland design. He doesn't, as far as I know, he doesn't have an understudy. And it just makes Copeland's very expensive and hard to get a hold of. And so you can't just take it around and it's like it's almost like, oh, this belongs in a museum. So it's hard to just enjoy it. So what I'm trying to do is replicate it as close as possible. People say, what's the closest whistle to a Copeland? And I'm hoping that I can make one that's pretty darn close. I don't really aspire to be a whistle maker. I don't have the time. So I'm trying, this is more of a labor of love, kind of a hobby. I love whistle design, and I've played around with it a little bit, but I haven't had the equipment to do the precision, replicable precision work that is required for making high quality whistles, more than a single one, like a one-off kind of thing. So I'm trying my best to create something that has a Copeland sound, Copeland feel. I don't know how close I'm gonna get. Part of me feels like it's like an act of hubris, but that's my goal. Like I said, I've outspent my budget on whistles and tools and equipment and materials and stuff this month. So I'm hoping to have something to show for it in a month or 2 months, 3 months or something. I don't know when this is going to, I'm just doing it in my free time. But anyway, all that being said, as I've been doing that, I've been kind of slowly collecting these conical bore whistles because obviously the Copeland is conical bore. And what I mean by that is the bottom is narrower than the top. They taper down. They have a long cone shape, and you can see the Copeland is fairly. I mean, it's obviously tapered. The Shaw has a steeper taper, and then something like this Dixon, I think this is the TB003. You almost can't tell that it's tapered, so but it is. And so there are varying degrees of tapers, but I just kind of wanted to get a kind of collect the tapered whistles again, because I feel like it's very interesting. There aren't a lot of tapered whistle designs out there. If you do a tapered design, it means you've got to make your own tubing, acquire your own tubing somehow. So the manufacturing process, it's more common to see a tapered bore on an Irish flute. And so it's rare to see that applied to whistles. So I have, as far as I know, I think this is it for tapered low D whistles. Not true. That would be, I would bet that the Swain or Bleasy low Ds, some of the wooden low Ds. So aside from wooden low Ds, you know what? I'm not even gonna say this is all. There's too many people making low Ds out there. I'd be willing to say but typically I would say for wooden low, if you set aside the wooden low Ds, I feel fairly confident that this is pretty representative of the available low Ds out there, and some of these aren't even available anymore. So anyway, here is the Copeland, the big daddy of tapered low Ds. And I do have some poster putty over the wall as an enhancement for the bottom end. I feel like it plays really well with it on there, and maybe at some point I may even modify my own Copeland to have like a little brass something, or maybe I'll make a little brass piece to make this look a little bit slicker. Maybe I'll just hot glue it on so it's non-destructive, but I don't want to mess up my Copeland at all. But I just like the way it gives it some extra power, and I've heard other Copeland low Ds that have more power than mine initially had, and with the putty wall it brings it closer to the sound that I was looking for. So there's the Copeland, gorgeous tone. Again, it's real shame that they are not manufactured anymore, but they're more labor intensive, and that design is, there's so many engineering issues that I have to solve in order to make this thing, and or to try to make my version of it, and I'm working through them one at a time. But yeah, it's there's a reason I think that nobody has picked it up. So here is one whistle that is currently available. So this is I did a video a little bit ago. This is Rob Gundara's Carbony Low D. It's the current design, so you can purchase these. They are the higher end of the price spectrum, not as high as a Copeland, but pretty pricey, but very unique sound, and then they play really well. The latest one I'm very pleased with. I've been taking this all over the place as my like toss in the car whistle, because it's sturdy, it's very lightweight, and I'm just enjoying playing it. The characteristics, it's got like more dynamic range than the old one did, and kind of bouncy to play, and so here's how it sounds. So there's the Carbony Low D, and you can see that again he's added a little bit of a wall to that, kind of like the Copeland. I have played around with the putty wall on that. I haven't gotten it to work as successfully as I have on some other whistles. Some designs really work well with it, and some just some it's like take it or leave it. It doesn't really do much, and then some it messes them up. So the Carbony, when I put the wall on there, it does increase the tone, but not to the extent. It doesn't focus it very much. It makes it a little bit stronger. Seems to cause a little bit some issues in the second octave, where I've been working on getting a clean transition on that second octave G cut. I mess it up, and it's something that I'm doing. It's a skill issue. It's not anything with Carbony, but I've noticed that putty wall exacerbates it. So the next one I will do is my Onyx by Walt Sweet, and this one kind of have a weird relationship with it. The design itself is just like, it's amazing. The tone that you get out of this is really cool. Blaine Chastain from the Irish Flute Store played it, and he has vouched for its tuning. I have trouble with it, and I don't really know why. I don't know what the deal is. Whether it's just this one, but I've had 3 of these, and all of them I've 2 of them I've sold. I went ahead and purchased another one because I sell it and I think, man, that's got such a unique sound. So I got this one. I'm like, I'm not going to sell it. It's got the offset holes, which don't bother me as far as hand placement. They drive me nuts when I'm trying to align everything because I don't know what hole to line up with the windway. It just has to feel it. It is 3 parts. It's not corked or anything. It's just Delrin on Delrin. But my issue with it is the tuning, and I don't know exactly how to get it. But like, I've got the low G tends to be a little bit flat. Second octave, it tends to be a bit sharp. But if the low D tends to be a bit sharp, and then the second octave tends to be very sharp. So right here on the low, on the first octave, I feel like it wants to be flatter than it needs to be, whereas like up here it's sharp. So I feel like the tuning is just not balanced the way that I would like it to be. I can't figure out how to blow it right, and it's so close to being such a really cool whistle, but it's just one that I feel like it's just beyond my ability. So I'm gonna give it my best shot. Here's how it sounds. You can already hear, I think, going sharp. So you can see, probably hear how I'm struggling a bit with the intonation on that. And again, it may be me and how I'm blowing it, but like, me and this whistle don't get along. And I have played around with putty wall on this one to make it closer, because I feel like the design itself is even though it's a thick Delrin kind of flute style, it's very similar. It's got some Copeland qualities, so I put a putty windway wall around the windway, and it does, to me, it does make that low end pop, and the range is good. I can get up and down the range, but I can't get the intonation to work on this one. So I've reached out a couple times to Walt Sweet. I don't know if he really does these anymore, or if it's even him that's creating them, but I haven't had any feedback, so I wouldn't count on customer service or anything if you do buy one of these. But anyway, I'll move on to the next one. All right, so the next set of whistles, I've got two of them, and they just came in today, so I've been playing around with them, and I have kind of tempered my expectations. But they are they're Tony Dixon whistles, and I have seen this one. So this is the one that most people are familiar with. This is the TB003, and it is the single piece polymer whistle. It is, I really like it. It is like one of the cheapest, kind of most entry level whistles that you can get, but it's got a really nice tone. And the only drawback to this one, I think, is that it's not tunable. And they make a tunable version for a little bit more. So I want to say this one is like 58 pounds, and the tunable one is like 75 pounds or something like that. So if you want the tunable version, you can get it. It's not a super slick tunable version, comes down and flares out, and kind of the top fits in here. But I was just buying this because I've owned one of these before. I ended up selling it. Again, I liked it and recommended it. I just had a lot of low Ds, but now I'm thinking I'll just keep a library of low Ds, and so I've purchased some of these. I've repurchased a few of these, and I went ahead for this project. I bought it because while I was looking at this one, I saw this guy on the Tony Dixon website, and it says it's an acetyl, which is Delrin, low D whistle, 3-piece low D, and I was not able to find anything on this. There's another set that is, so this is I have to write it down, DXO32D, and there's another one that's like the DXO31D, I think, that also comes with a flute head. And I think there's another Tony Dixon like flute, low D flute combo. People have complained about it. So I'm not recommending it. I didn't get the flute head with this because I just don't have the money. Again, all the projects that I've got going on, I've run out. But I was hoping, my hope was that this was going to be basically like a finely tuned pro version of this, because I really like this, and I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be like something that's on the same level as the Carbony or the Copeland, maybe. And it's a good whistle. But I quickly realized as I opened this up that basically these two heads are identical. I think they're even maybe made out of the same material, very lightweight. The main difference is that this one starts to flare out in order to join with the flute style body, and then this one, obviously is one piece, and so there's some differences. But as far as like the way the heads, I can't, visually, I don't see any difference between the heads on these two, and so the only difference in these is basically, from the, like, this point down, is you've got this, like, and it's possible that right here, because you can see where this little line is on the neck, it's a different place here. It's possible that there's some internal, it's starting to maybe do some tapering or something like this, but this is a much more tapered internal bore. The hole spacing is different, and the hole size is different. So this one is closer to a traditional Irish flute hole spacing and pattern. This one is more of a low D hole spacing as pattern. As far as the difference between how they play, and again, this was heavier because the thickness of the Delrin, particularly in the bottom of it. It looks nicer, except for the fact that this has like cork. Like there's no real tuning slide on this, and so I just have to kind of pull this out, and I had to pull it out quite a bit because it played pretty sharp when it was all the way closed down. So I believe I've got it tuned about as well as I can. The bottom, the low D tends to play almost a little bit sharp. I have to be careful, but it's a very delicate low D. This one's a little bit stronger, which this is a fairly delicate low D as it is. But I think that the thickness of the material kind of dampens the sound. And as I played it afterwards, after my initial review, which I can link my initial unboxing video in the description here. But as I played it afterwards, I thought, it is a fun whistle to play. It's got a good tactile feel. I think the small holes kind of make it bouncy and bubbly feeling, but it's very quiet. So I will play both of these for you. I'll play this one first, and then I'll play the cheaper model, and you can compare. So here is the Tony Dixon DX032D. Now, the third octave D is very easy to reach on this. So that is something that I do notice is a difference. This one's a little bit, just cheated a little bit towards the second octave. And so it is very pleasant, very sweet up there. Very quiet low D. Doesn't stand up to any much of a push at all, as opposed to there's the Copeland. There you can pretty good firmness there. But here I'll play it again just for side-by-side reference. Here is the Tony Dixon TB003 polycarbonate, very lightweight whistle. And so this one, just to be clear, this one is about 58 pounds, and then this one was about 100. I want to say 160 pounds, maybe 150 pounds. But so there's the tunable model of this one is about half the price of the acetal flute version. So I feel like this almost has a rougher, wilder sound about it. A little bit less refined, a little not quite as smooth. I think partly that may be due to the thinness of the material. I have a Rayburn C, soprano C, that has it's an easy blower, and I have one that's a standard blower that's got a thicker brass, and I've noticed that difference between those two. The thinner brass version actually has more texture to the tone. The thicker one feels like it kind of smooths it out a little bit more. Even though I like the weight, the heft of the standard bore size and thicker tubing. I almost feel like I like the tone of the thinner walled one better. So just because of the complexity of it. So I feel like depending on the sound that you like, you could kind of go, but definitely you'd have to expect a quiet whistle when it comes to the 3-piece Dixon. So I'm enjoying it, and at some point I don't know, I may need to like just cut this cork out just so it's not like hanging out there and making my whistle look ugly. And then finally we have the Shaw Low D. Again, this one's tapered, solid sheet of nickel silver, which is not silver. It's like a tin copper. It's an alloy that's used in a lot of musical instruments. It does have some interesting features, like these bottom two, these holes right here have chimneys that are they give a little bit more depth to these bottom holes, and I don't know if that's for intonation or exactly what the purpose of. There is a seam that goes up the back, and it's kind of off center in most places. It doesn't bother me. Some people are really bothered by the seam, but it's soldered on the back side. It's got a wooden fipple block. I've sanded the wooden fipple block to try to give it a little bit more shape. I may work on it a little bit more later and eventually seal it so that it just doesn't, the wooden fipple block bothers me. But otherwise it's kind of thin metal. The blade is pressed down, and these have been made, Mr. Shaw was making these in the probably late 80s, early 90s. He made bagpipes as well. And I don't really know the story behind how he decided to make these. He made them in a full range of keys. I have a high D, I've got a low F, and then the low D I just purchased, and this may actually be one of the last low Ds that he made, because his wife said he was slowing down. He had an operation and passed away shortly afterwards. So he, while this whistle was in transit, I found out that he'd passed away. So it is a bummer to say the least that he's no longer, there are no longer going to be any Shaw whistles. I asked her if she had an A or G in stock before I knew that he was doing poorly. I just asked her if she had an A or a G in stock, and I'd buy both of those because I knew that he was going to be getting out of the whistle making business, and she didn't have any in stock. So I hope I wasn't pestering her too much. I know that she was helping with some post-op recovery, and she said it was more tiring than she expected, and so he may have already been doing poorly at that time. But I'm glad that I was able to pick up a Shaw Low D just for the historical value, and again, I have modified the windway a little bit. That's one of the cool things about Shaw whistles, is you can get them and you can tweak them, and if you push the blade down a little bit too far, you can pull it back, and you can kind of modify them to your taste. They take an enormous amount of air, like the most air hungry whistle. That's probably the same thing with Clark Originals. That's really the biggest criticism of them, is that they just suck the air out of your lungs. Very breathy whistles. I've pushed this down. I feel like it's a little bit more air efficient than it was, but still just a big open breathy sound. So here's how it sounds. Got a putty wall on it. just because it makes it a little bit stronger on the bottom end, and I can do that. So. So there you go. That is 6 tapered bore low D whistles. Again, the ones that are available. Let me, real quick. I'm going to play through just the bottom note. Copeland. Here's the Carbony. Here's the Onyx. Here's the Dixon one-piece polymer. The Dixon three-piece polymer, or acetal. And the Shaw. And then I'll do the same thing, but I'll go through the second octave, or the Carbony. The Onyx. The one-piece plastic Dixon. I really like the second octave on that one. And then the three-piece. And then the Shaw. And there you go. I hope that was interesting and informative. I said eventually, I hope that in a little while I'll be able to have my own Copeland, a Copeland low D whistle. But again, I don't know when I'll have the time, and there's always another tool that I need, that I find that I need, and it's always very expensive. But we'll see what happens over the next few months. Thanks for watching.